Hello. Good afternoon. Today, the Assisted Housing Governing Board will convene prior to the start of today's formal City Council meeting. I'll now call to order the meeting of the City of Phoenix Assisted Housing Governing Board of Directors. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member Ansari.
Here.
Board Member DeCiccio.
Here.
Board Member Guardado.
Here.
Board Member Maggard.
Here.
Board Member O'Brien.
Here.
Board Member Pastor.
Here.
Board Member Stark.
Here.
Board Member Waring. Vice Chair Garcia.
Here.
Chairwoman Gallego.
Here. Could we have a motion for the approval of the June 23rd, 2021 meeting minutes?
I motion to approve the June 23rd, 2021 minutes.
Second. You're on mute, Mayor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, nay? Meeting minutes are approved. We next move to item number 4, a resolution adopting a amendment to the Housing Department Annual Agency Plan. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
I motion to approve resolution number 210.
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Maggard.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring. Garcia.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
That concludes the business for the Assisted Housing Governing Board. We will adjourn that meeting. Thank you, Donna, for your service.
Thank you.
We will next move to the January 5th, 2021 formal meeting of the Phoenix City Council, and I will call that meeting to order. Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Ansari.
Here.
Councilman DeCiccio.
Here.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Here.
Councilwoman O'Brien.
Here.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Here.
Councilwoman Stark.
Here.
Councilman Waring. Vice Mayor Garcia.
Here.
Mayor Gallego.
Here. Elsie Duarte is here to provide interpretation services. Elsie, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Hello, my name is Elsie Duarte. I'll be serving as the Spanish interpreter for today's policy session. I will now take a moment to introduce myself to the Spanish-speaking audience. Hola, buenas tardes. Bienvenidos a la reunión del Consejo de Políticas. Mi nombre es Elsie Duarte y estaré sirviéndoles como intérprete a nuestra audiencia de habla hispana. Deseamos pedirles antemano, al momento de dar el comentario público, favor de hablar despacio, con claridad y evite tener distracciones de fondo. Finalmente, haga una breve pausa después de cada una o dos oraciones para poder interpretar lo que esté diciendo de la manera más completa posible. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you. We begin today with news that hits very close to home. Since we last convened, we've lost 3 Phoenix employees to the coronavirus. I want to send my condolences, as does the council, to their friends and families, and the entire City of Phoenix family is grieving. This virus is cruel and unforgiving and causing a lot of pain. In a moment, I will ask for a moment of silence for those we've lost. During that moment, I would ask that you also contemplate the events of January 6, 2020, when an attack on our democracy occurred. Tomorrow is the anniversary of those events, and we are still suffering the impacts today. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Will the city clerk please read the 24-hour paragraph?
The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances number G6932 through 6943, S48217 through 48260, and resolutions 21982 through 21986.
Thank you. And now I will turn to our city attorney's office. Public comment provides an important portion of the Phoenix City Council meeting, and the city attorney's office will discuss the role of public comment in the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public may speak up to 2 minutes to comment on agenda items. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered by the council. General comments that go beyond the scope of the agenda item must be made during citizen comment session at the end of the agenda. Speakers must present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profane language and personal attacks on members of the public, council members, or staff are not allowed. A person who violates these rules can lose their opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on agenda item number 1?
Motion to approve mayor and city council boards and commission nominations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signal nay. Passes unanimously. The City Council provides advisory services to the state of Arizona on liquor license applications. The state is the final decision maker. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on the liquor license portion of our agenda?
Motion to approve items 2 through 32, except item 32, and noting that item 27 has been withdrawn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Item 32 is in Councilwoman Pastor's district. I will turn to Councilwoman Pastor.
Yes, item number 2 is in the district, and I am giving a no recommendation. That's my motion.
Wonderful. Councilwoman has a motion for disapproval.
No, for no recommendation.
Oh, no recommendation?
Yes.
Thank you.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor, Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 8-0.
Thank you. City Clerk, are we ready for ordinances, resolutions, new business, and planning and zoning?
Yes, Mayor.
Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Yes. Motion to approve items 33 through 107, except the following. Items 38, 39, 46, 57, 58, 63, 65, 85, 87, and 105, noting that item 104 is continued to January 26th, 2022, and excluding these items for public comment, 58, 77, 89, and 107.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor. I apologize. Pastor.
Yes.
Thank you. Stark.
Yes.
Waring. Garcia.
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 8-0.
Thank you. Now, next up would be the selection of the vice mayor, and I've been asked to wait until all members of the body can be present. So could we have a motion to suspend the rules and take an item out of order?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and move item 38. And I guess, I'm sorry, for our city attorney, do we need two motions on this?
Mayor, no, you just need one.
Wonderful. And was that an okay motion?
That was okay motion, yes.
Wonderful. And do we have all members of the body with us?
We may have them now. Councilman Waring, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, Mayor, we do.
All
Can you
right.
hear me?
We do have all members of the body. So Councilman, we had just made a motion to take item 38 out of order so that all members of the body could be present. Since that is now the case, will the maker and the seconder be comfortable retracting the motion?
I withdraw my motion, Mayor.
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, we now move to item 38, the selection of the vice mayor. Councilwoman Stark.
Yes. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion and nominate Ann O'Brien.
Second.
Mayor,
Councilwoman O'Brien.
thank you. Well, I'm thankful and honored to have been nominated by Councilwoman Stark. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize her career of public service. She served as a planning director for both the county and the city and is incredibly knowledgeable on all things growth and development. She served on the council for years and has been a leader in her district and the city, and is a strong supporter of all members of public safety. I want to thank Councilwoman Stark and Councilman Waring for their nomination and second of me for vice mayor. But I'd like to introduce a substitute motion and nominate Councilwoman Stark for vice mayor.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman O'Brien. I will second that motion. And I will note that Vice Mayor Garcia will serve as vice mayor for all of this meeting, and we want to thank him for his service, especially during a time of a pandemic. So this motion, the new vice mayor would take the role over after the conclusion of this council meeting. Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari.
Mayor, can I explain my vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I have huge respect for Councilwoman Stark, would have loved to support her. I just have already previously committed my vote for vice mayor for this year. So I will be voting no. Thank you.
DeCiccio.
Mayor, I'd like to explain my vote. Appreciate it. Game being played. Congratulations to you guys for doing that. But when I see that kind of stuff, I'm a no across the board. I'll be voting no on both items. Thank you, Mayor.
Guardado.
Mayor, can I explain my vote?
Please do.
Yes, I've committed my vote somewhere else. I respect the years of service of Councilwoman Stark. I think we've worked on a lot of great things together, but for this moment, I'm going to be voting no.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
I am voting no.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
No.
Garcia,
For the same reasons as Councilman DeCiccio, I vote no and will be voting no on both items.
Gallego.
Yes.
Fails 3-6.
We return to the first motion, a motion for Councilwoman O'Brien to serve as vice mayor. Do we have any comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
No.
DeCiccio,
No.
Guardado,
No.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
No.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
No.
Gallego.
Yes.
Fails 4-5.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Guardado.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to nominate Councilwoman Pastor to serve as vice mayor.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yeah.
Guardado,
Mayor, can I explain my vote?
Please do.
Yes, I'm gonna be voting yes for Councilwoman Pastor. I've been on the council, Councilwoman Pastor for 2.5 years, and I feel like I've learned so much from you. I feel like you've helped me out a lot. I'm my first 2 years on the council, learning how to read the agendas, learning a lot of the different things here at the city. I really, truly appreciate your friendship and your leadership. These last 2.5 years, they've been rough, and I've really appreciated my partnership with you on this. So I am going to be voting yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor, Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
No.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-1.
Wonderful. Congratulations to Councilwoman Pastor, and thank you to Vice Mayor Garcia for his service, which again will conclude at the end of this meeting. We next move to item 39, which is a public hearing for the proposed 19th Avenue and Happy Valley Road annexation. I will open the public hearing. We do have representatives for the applicant available to speak if necessary. They are in support. We do not have any opposition, so if there are no questions for the applicant, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. There is no vote required today. It is a public hearing only. We next, any council comments? We next move to item 46. Will the city clerk please read the title?
Item 46 is for ordinance G6941, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 3, to establish the salaries for judges of the city court, establish the salary and benefits of the assistant presiding judge, and to modify the benefits for court hearing officers.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 46.
I did not hear a second. Do we have a second?
Again.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Want to thank those who serve the city of Phoenix in these roles. We have worked hard to be innovative on a variety of programs, including for our veterans and people experiencing homelessness. I really appreciate their service and look forward to supporting this item. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark, Waring,
No.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-1.
Next is item 57, request authorization to apply for, accept, and disperse funding from American Forests for tree planting in Phoenix. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 57.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I am looking forward to supporting this item. American Forests have been a strong partner with us, and it's exciting to see funding opportunities come to our community. In April of 2020, the City of Phoenix became the first city in the country to sign the Tree Equity Pledge, a commitment to a level of tree coverage in all neighborhoods by 2030. We have tools and are using a data-driven approach to implement tree plantings and heat mitigation in a data-driven way, improving public health and quality of life, especially in our most heat-vulnerable neighborhoods. I want to thank Jad Daly and American Forest team for their partnership. Thank you as well to Salesforce, iHeartRadio, Aspiration Bank for their support of American Forests and its work in Phoenix. And thank you to the Office of Heat Response and Mitigation, the Office of Sustainability, and departments across the city who are collaborating on this priority. A group that includes the Nature Conservancy, AECOM, GPEC, and others did a study of different tools to reduce heat, and they found that investing in our tree canopy had a benefit to cost ratio of 3.78. So as someone who likes to see data, it was wonderful to see how well that investment pays dividends in our community. And in this case, we have great philanthropic partners who make the benefits even more impressive. If we can achieve tree equity here in our desert community in a way that's sustainable, then cities across the country can do so as well. So I'm really looking forward to supporting this motion. Council comments. Councilwoman Ansari.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to echo my excitement and support for this item. I remember this partnership was on the agenda during my first council meeting, so seeing it in action is really, really exciting. And the fact that we are receiving $500,000 entirely fundraised from both private and philanthropic entities to help us advance cool corridors outlined in our climate action plan so soon after we pass the climate plan is really phenomenal. And the fact that there's going to be a focus on communities with low tree equity scores makes this an even stronger proposal. More importantly, I know that the funds will be dispersed to organizations that work here locally, like Trees Matter, Keep Phoenix Beautiful, and the Arizona Sustainability Alliance, who already have a record of doing incredible work. So very excited to be supporting this today. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Just a quick comment. Congratulations, Councilwoman Ansari and others that worked on this. This is a big deal for Phoenix, and happily to support it. Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor, Pastor, I apologize. It looks like you're on mute. Councilman Pastor? Stark,
Yes. Yes.
thank you. Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
We next move to item 58, a partnership with Local First on an incubator.
Motion to approve item 58.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. And noting that Councilwoman Pastor will not be participating in this vote. Comments? I am very much looking forward to supporting this item. One of the most important things we've been doing is working to rebuild and diversify our local economy, and food service is such a huge part of that ecosystem. This sponsorship is another great use of ARPA funds as we help invest in our small businesses. I've gotten to meet some of the graduates of the previous incubator partnerships, and really looking forward to seeing what this great team, including the Maricopa Community Colleges, will be doing. So thank you. For our staff, we do not have any speakers on for this item.
No, Mayor, we do not.
Wonderful. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor, Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
And I apologize, I did note Pastor's conflict. Passes 8-0.
Thank you. We next move to item 63, guest speaker services, Lionel Crowther. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 63.
Second.
Council comments? Roll call.
Ansari, Ansari,
Yes.
thank you. DeCiccio,
No.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 8-1.
We next move to item 65, Airport FAA Consultant Contract Solicitation Request to Issue. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 65.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have a second? We have a second from, I think, Councilwoman Pastor. Comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
No.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
No.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 7-2.
We move to item 77, April 2022 proposed bus service improvements. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 77.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Brenda Montoya is on to provide comments on item 77, so we will go to public comment now. Brenda, the floor is yours.
Si gusta proceder.
Mi nombre es Brenda Montoya.
My name is Brenda Montoya.
Y soy la presidenta de Si Se Puede Neighborhood Association.
And I am the president of Si Se Puede Neighborhood Si Se Puede Association.
Estoy a favor de la extensión del circulador Mary.
I am in favor of the bus transit and
como representante de la asociación y en nombre de mis compañeras.
as a representative of the association and in behalf of my of everyone here.
Quiero agradecer al Concilio de la Ciudad de Phoenix y en especial a la concejal Yasamin Ansari.
I want to thank the council members, especially Council Member Ansari,
por tomarnos en cuenta a esta comunidad
for taking into account our community
y haber escuchado nuestras necesidades.
and for listening to our needs.
Gracias también por darnos la oportunidad de proveer interpretación.
And thank you for the opportunity of also providing interpretation,
ya que nos da a la comunidad latina
because that will give the Latin community
una seguridad a la hora de expresarnos y hablar nuestro idioma.
the ability to be able to express ourselves.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very
Feliz
much.
año nuevo para todos.
And Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you so much. That concludes public council comments. Councilwoman Ansari.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to take a moment to celebrate such a huge win for residents and community organizers in Maryville, especially the Si Se Puede Neighborhood Association. I think this is the meeting where several of items from my first meeting are coming back because it was, again, my first week in office when Brenda Montoya and the leaders of the association emailed our office to say they had a presentation for us to discuss a critical need in their neighborhood. About 8 months and a whole lot of community input later, the Mary Circulator will extend its current route on 59th Avenue to Fillmore Street. And while that may seem like a small change, this will much better serve older adults living at the Casa Pedro Ruiz Senior Apartments and so many more. This means a shorter commute to the Mary for residents heading to doctor appointments, to the grocery stores, or visiting our parks. So thank you so much. Really heartfelt thank you from myself and my team to Brenda for looking out for your community. And a huge thanks as well to Jesus, to Mario, Valley Metro, and everyone in our transit department who helped make this happen. Just want to remind everyone this was such an amazing example of how community input can go such a long way, especially at our budget hearings. And it also goes to show that we are listening. And when folks call in, we do try to implement the changes that are suggested. So thank you so much again. And a huge congratulations to all who made this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien, Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 9-0.
We next move to item 85, the agreement with the Central Arizona Water Conservation District and others to participate in the Colorado River 500 Plus Plan. Councilwoman O'Brien.
I move to approve the agreement with the Central Arizona Water Conservation District and other to participate in the Colorado River 500 Plus Plan.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman O'Brien, comments?
Thank you. Just want to express that this 500+ plan just demonstrates the commitment of the Lower Basin states to saving Lake Mead as a viable reservoir. The level of collaboration and extraordinary timing of the plan should be commended. This plan is a stopgap measure, though. It is not the solution to declines in the Colorado River. The long-term solution must include a recognition by all Colorado River users throughout the West that the river is not going to reliably yield the volume of water expected by the basin states when they signed the Colorado River Compact over 100 years ago. Colorado River users need an operating agreement in 2026 that will provide some clarity and certainty as to how we allocate water in a hotter, drier future. That clarity and certainty will help establish reasonable expectations and allow cities like Phoenix to create a sustainable water future for its residents. It is for the reason that that we're committed to saving our water and working on a long-term plan. I'll be voting yes today. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Additional comments? Councilman O'Brien, thank you for your leadership on regional water issues, including this one. Certainly agree we have to continue to be diligent about our Colorado River supply. The river is over-allocated, and it is important that we work to maintain water levels in our lakes. I'm glad that the City of Phoenix continues to step up in this area. It's important to note that the water that is the subject of today's vote would not have been used immediately, but would have been stored. We will take the dollars involved with this and put it towards water conservation. So really looking to future generations. We are a desert city, and we have to continue to remember that in our decision making.
And Mayor, if I could just say one more thing, I apologize.
Please do.
Thank you. You know, I was remiss in not thanking, Karen Peters and her department, Cynthia Campbell, and working so diligently on this on behalf of the City of Phoenix as well. We have incredible resources here at the city working on our long-term water plan. So a huge shout out and thank you to them.
Well said. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
We next move to the planning and zoning portion of our council meeting, beginning with item 86, final plat, south of Van Buren Street and west of 56th Street. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 89?
Second.
Mayor,
87.
87, sorry.
Second.
Wonderful. We have a motion and a second on 87.
Just to make sure that's in District 6, is that still okay if I make the motion?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Wonderful. So we do have a motion on 87, item 87, which is a final plat. It is the future home of the Papago Park campus for the Arizona Humane Society, and will be a comprehensive network of services for Arizona's most vulnerable pets. The Humane Society have been our amazing partners at the City of Phoenix, including for cases where the Phoenix Police Department is working with animals. It will be a regional hub with acute medical and trauma care, behavioral rehabilitation, adoption resources. They'll assist with animal cruelty investigations, and educational programs. It's a very exciting facility, and I want to thank Alan Stevenson and his team for getting this on today's agenda so that the Humane Society could meet their deadline for their Phase 1 environmental report. We appreciate all of the Humane Society's works at multiple locations in Phoenix. I know many families that are homes to pets that got rescue services and medical services at the Sunny Slope campus, and that's certainly a treasure for our community. And the Dobbins campus as well is one that we've been really pleased to see grow and thrive. So thank you to the Humane Society for all they are doing. Council member comments.
Mayor?
Roll call. Councilman DeCiccio.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, I could have done a roll call, but no, I want to thank the Humane Society for the great partnership that they've given us over all these years. They've been an amazing ally. As many members know, and many individuals know, especially the 50,000 social media members of mine know, every week we put out a pet adoption. And I firmly believe that we get viewed when we're at our end of our lives of how we treat the most vulnerable and the most weak in our society. That's how we will be viewed. And so many of these animals are so mistreated, it just breaks your heart. It's, you know, I have the same feeling about kids and families and that, but, you know, we're dealing with the animals here too. It's just the way that they're treated, and the Humane Society has such a beautiful, loving way, and they are angels of how they treat our animals and how they treat the weakest in our society. Thank you, Mayor. I'm strongly supportive of this.
Councilwoman Gordado.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I also big shout out to them as well, to Dr. Steve Hansen and to Kelsey and to all of the team for all of their hard work that they do. I was able to attend one of the events that they did prior to opening, and you know what, it was amazing to see everything that they've done and everything that they're doing. Yeah, so big thank you to all of them for all of their hard work. Thank you, Mayor.
Any additional council comment? Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 89, final plat north of Baseline Road and east of 7th Street. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 89.
Second.
We have one member of the public to comment. Mark Rodriguez. Happy New Year, Mark. The floor is yours.
Hello, Mayor Kate Gallego and everybody at the Phoenix City Council. It's good to hear from you again. Happy 2022. It's because I'm just thinking about the 7th Street and Baseline. I'd take over all the way to there, to that area, because there's a Fry's, Burger King, and the Taco Bell, and all the other places, including the Walgreens for you, ma'am. Mayor Kate Gallego, and also the members of the City Council. I'm waiting for the community center to be open on 35th Avenue and Baseline, because I hope you get a day, because I've been waiting for it. And also, I want to shout out for the new year, for the 2022, Yasmin Ansari, a.k.a. Yazzie, Betty Wangato, Carlos Garcia, Laura Pastor, Ann O'Brien, Deborah Stark, Jim Waring, Sal DeCiccio. Even though you're not my type, Sal DeCiccio, I'm not a still fan of you, dude, but Happy New Year to you, and it is what it is, dude. But hey, Mayor Gallego, thank you for the New Year shout-out, because, and Yasmin Ansari, I want to see you guys again, and members of the City Council. It's because I like talking to you guys, and I like talking to you at the City Council meetings, because it's having fun, and also I hope you give me, like, questions and all that, because I would love to happy to say something, because I love you guys, because I'm just saying in my heart, in my condolences to the January and all that stuff, because even though Mayor Kate Gallego, I would like to shout out as you, because you're awesome mayor, because you're a feminist mayor. It's because I like female mayors, because even you, Mayor Kate Gallego, Yasmin Ansari, Betty Wangato, Laura Pastor, Deborah Stark, Ann O'Brien, feminist to you, ladies, is because I love you guys. And Sal DeCiccio, you're my least favorite, still not a fan of you. Respect you, dude. Hey, you know what it is. But Mayor Kate Gallego, hey, Vaso, Have a happy 2022. Go Web, go. Your friendly neighborhood Mark out.
Thank you, Mark. Council member comments. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
We next move to item 105, COVID-19 community and mobile testing, vaccination, health events, and services amendments. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 106, or I'm kind of confused. 105.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilwoman Ansari.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to just take an opportunity to say how grateful I am that the council allocated this bucket of money for ongoing testing and vaccinations. I think it's safe to say that our mobile vaccine vans have delivered really incredible results. Countless of my residents and my own staff who's gotten tested there, myself, have shared how quick and efficient they really are. We also know that Monday in Arizona, we reported more than 14,000 new COVID-19 cases, and the highest number that we ever reported in 2020 was 17,000. So clearly we're on the brink of a devastating surge, and adding at-home test kit options will really be helpful to families to save time and energy getting tested. So all around, really happy about this piece on the agenda. I did just want to put in an ask of staff to see if it would be possible to look into providing N95 or KN95 masks to our residents. Scientists are sharing that simple cloth and surgical masks are not going to cut it anymore with the new variant. So, and masks, especially the N95s, can be another added cost for families. So, just wanted to put that out there to see if it's possible for us to look into this as part of this contingency funding. Thank you.
Mayor, Councilwoman Ansari, members of council, your question is very timely, and in fact, when we present next week to you our ARPA strategic plan, you will see an option that does in fact include that, but we'll also explore that with these funds as well.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. I'm very supportive of this. I appreciate all those who have been involved with getting testing and vaccination out in our community, and we're going to need to continue to be diligent. The city is working closely with Maricopa County Public Health as well to make sure that we get to those who need us. Very supportive of the additional investments in high quality masks as well. It's a tough time, and thank you again to all the city employees who have stepped up to make these investments, as well as our partners in the nonprofit and private sector. It's been a great collaboration, but we are not done yet. We have lost too many, and we got to work together to slow the spread of COVID-19 in our community. Also want to shout out the healthcare workers who gave up their holidays to help fight this pandemic. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with you and Councilwoman Ansari that excited about this. I know it's a need in the community. I wanted us to also just think about how we can expand testing. I think this current strand is a lot more contagious, and we're seeing a lot more folks, having the need. So thinking about maybe expanding or figuring out how to either the hours that we have testing or more of it, more sites. I also had just, thankful, and this is a great direction, Jeff. I did have a question if you've thought a little bit out through how we're going to distribute the at-home test, or what kind of ways are you thinking about getting that in people's hands?
Vice Mayor, Mayor, members of the council, that's a good question as well. So we're in the infancy stage of discussing the logistics behind that, but we do have some conceptual ideas, one of which is using, again, our clinical partners that have been on the front lines with us, distributing through them at the different events that we have. We've also been talking about using our city resources in terms of community centers, parks, as well as our libraries to distribute. The county's had a very successful program through their library where folks can come and their curbside service. They're actually bringing out testing kits to every person that's in a car, two kits per car. So we're exploring all those different avenues to look into this. And again, as I said, next week when we talk to you, we've got an opportunity or an option for you to consider that would expand this even beyond what we're talking about here today.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Councilwoman Pastor yields to Councilman DeCiccio. Councilman DeCiccio.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. No, I just think that this is a very contagious variant. It was just spoken earlier about Councilmember Garcia brought it up. It is true. It's very contagious. And people that are especially in the high risk really need to do everything that they can, either get vaccinated or do whatever they have to do to take care of their families and themselves. And the fact, I got to tell you how many friends of mine have had this. I would say good 10 friends of mine have already got it and been diagnosed with it. Luckily for them, it's been very mild. But again, this variant, no one knows what it's going to do to a person's body. No one knew what COVID was going to do. It's one of those things where you've got to do what you have to do, especially if you're in high risk. And I would strongly recommend that you either get vaccinated or find ways to protect yourself. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a question for Jeff. Is it possible to do more mobile vans and open up the vendor list to see if there are more vendors that can quickly put in more mobile vans?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Pastor, we can explore that with finance and procurement to see if there's an opportunity to do that. Obviously, there would. It would just be a matter of what process we have to go to expand the list of qualified vendors to serve us. Actually acquiring additional vans, as you know, that takes time to get those vans ready and upfit them. But again, that's something that we can start exploring in anticipation of next week's discussion about this as well.
Thank you. And I do want to, Councilwoman Ansari made a great statement about the K95 masks, as I do think that's very important. We are seeing this COVID and variant go through many of our circles. I happen to be sitting at home because it has now affected my family, and I'm sitting and making sure that my daughter is okay and gets through this. But it has now hit completely in my home family, and understand the need to get vaccinated, also get boosted, those that haven't, and be able to protect ourselves. So thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring. Garcia.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
We next move to item 107, which is a public hearing, a rezoning application for the northwest corner of 16th Street in Maryland. We'll begin with a staff report from our Planning and Development Director, Alan Stevenson.
Mayor, members of council, they're pulling up the PowerPoint presentation here, so just 1 second right there. Perfect. So, Mayor and Council, this request is to go from the current zoning of RO, which is residential office, to a planned unit development for a 0.89 acre site for a multifamily residential project. The aerial that you see here surrounds the subject site is in blue. The rest of it shows you the zoning around there, where you have multifamily zoning on the north side of the street from R5 to the east, over to R3, which is about 15 dwelling units per acre on the east, and then to the south is single-family residential, and further off along 16th Street is commercial zoning. The proposed site plan by the applicant depicts 15 units that have an interior courtyard, as you can see, with access to the garage units on the edges of the property. This was a reduction. The applicant originally had 16 units, but did lose a unit through the process and working to address some of the concerns expressed by staff, the community, and the various hearing bodies. Here's the elevations for the proposed project. It is a 3-story project with a maximum height of 35 feet. Here's an exhibit showing what it would look like from Maryland in terms of a conceptual rendering down that interior courtyard. The request is recommended approval by staff. The Camelback East Village Planning Committee voted to recommend denial by a vote of 8-3. The Planning Commission did recommend approval by a vote of 8-1 with some modified and additional stipulations. The applicant has appealed the Planning Commission recommendation to force a public hearing here this afternoon. Staff does recommend approval per the Planning Commission recommendation and adoption of the related ordinance. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Director Stevenson? All right, we will open the public hearing. Both sides will have a 10-minute presentation at the beginning. They may use their 10 minutes as they see fit. If one speaker chooses to use all 10 minutes, then they may do so. If they would like to pass it to others to speak. After the presentations from each side, we will go to people who have registered for public comment, and those will be our traditional 2-minute public comments. We'll begin with the applicant, Mr. Oliver.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is John Oliver from Tiffany and Bosco. Address 2525 East Camelback Road. I think we have a PowerPoint to share with Council, but I'm having a little technical difficulty on my side. My channel changer was dropped, so let me switch back over to the right station. I'm hoping staff is still pulling this up for me. If I can't figure it out, I will just ad-lib and talk quickly about the slides that I have and go from there. Give me one quick.
John, this is Alan. Your PowerPoint is up, so if you'd like to proceed with your presentation, just
all right, perfect.
let us know.
I will just roll with it and then just tell you guys next slide. I have a hard copy here. Thanks, Alan, for that. If we can go to slide 2, again, this just shows the context of the property. The property is located west of the northwest corner of 16th Street and Maryland. As you've heard from staff already, it is situated between a commercial complex in R3 and R5 zoning. On slide 3, you'll see the site plan that has been shown already. I just like to highlight a few things about the site plan. We've been working with staff. We first filed this case 13 months ago. When we filed this case the first time, we had a site plan that showed 16 units and 4 guest parking spots. We kind of heard throughout the entirety of our project 3 core concerns from neighbors, and those were our project is too dense, we don't have enough guest parking spots, and they do not agree with having trash picked up on the streetscape. So what we've done, we worked with neighbors, we worked with staff, and we worked with the village in ways to fix and amend our site plan. So when we first went to village, again, we heard the same concerns. We heard from our neighbors, and we heard from those on the Camelback East Planning Village. They said that your project is too dense. You also don't have enough guest parking spots. So when we went to Planning Commission the first time, we brought a site plan that looks a lot like the one you're seeing, but that one showed 15 units with 6 guest parking spots. Again, we heard at Planning Commission the same concerns, right? Not enough guest parking, and we also heard that we don't think that the streetscape is engaged as well as it should be. So what we did is, we took some time. We actually continued our case the first time at Planning Commission to try and see if we could make a more engaged site plan work, to try and maybe drop our 2 drive aisles that you see here and only have 1 drive aisle. Well, what we figured out is we couldn't swing the 2 drive aisles, but we could address most of those concerns. So we found a way to have a 7th guest parking space that now brings us up in line with what the zoning ordinance would ask us to have, although this is a PUD and we can't have our own standards. But 7 guest parking spots are now in line with the zoning code. So again, the site plan that you're seeing in front of you is showing 15 units and 7 guest parking spots. And that was done just to appease the concerns that we heard from neighbors. On this next slide, on slide 4, on the upper left-hand corner, you can see renderings that we had at first, that we first brought. We brought these to Village and we brought these to Planning Commission the first time. And we heard that our street frontage off of Maryland Avenue was insufficient. We also heard that the fact that our entryway was fenced did not further a walkable urban city and urban core. So again, we heard those concerns. We huddled internally so we could figure out a way to better engage the streetscape. What we've been able to do, you can see that now on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. We now have our end caps. Those N2 units have been turned so they actually front and they face onto Maryland. This just furthers, better walkability, just a better urban core style here. Also, you'll see there's no fence in the center area. So now we have an open entryway with enhanced landscaping. And on this next slide, this slide just shows what the property will look like when it's fully built out, right? Our vision here is to have a larger center walkway that will ensure that those that live on this project feel a sense of community, that they feel engagement, and that we have lush landscaping to really encourage those that live here to meet and greet each other and utilize all that the city of Phoenix has. Mayor, with this time, I'd like to reserve my time for any rebuttal I might need. Thank you.
Mr. Whitesell will begin the next presentation. The floor is yours.
And before my time begins, if we could have my PowerPoint presentation displayed, I would appreciate it. Excellent, thank you. Mayor and City Council members, thank you very much for the opportunity to stay on this case. I've been involved with the case since March 4th, 2021. From the very first neighborhood meeting on January 10th until the Planning Commission meeting on December 2nd, we have met and talked with the developers and their legal counsel, trying to reach common ground on the details of this project. This slide is a list of the dates on which we listened. Oh, and we should have slide 1 up, please. I think that might be slide 2. We listened and we provided input. There were some compromises made, but only when the appellant realized that the project wasn't going to be given a green light by the decision makers. Mr. Oliver did a fairly accurate recap of the evolution of the project, but I'd like to present our recollection. From January to October, no changes were made in the project despite neighborhood concerns, suggestions, and recommendations. We collaborated and compromised because we support an owner-occupied multifamily project on this site if it is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. The lower section of this slide shows what both the developers and the neighborhood gained and gave. On October the 5th, Camelback East VPC, as you've heard, denied the application 8-3. Remember that 15 of the 21 members of this committee are appointed by District 6 Councilman DeCiccio. District 8 has 3 members, District 4 1 member, and the mayor has 2 members. It is notable that long-term member Daniel Sharaby, a Councilman DeCiccio appointee, made the motion to deny the application and stated that he could recall maybe only one other time in his years on the committee that he voted against a rezoning case. Another member expressed concern about this rezoning being for a PUD because it doesn't meet the criteria for a PUD. And Chairman Swart asked the planner to take this concern back to the department. Between the Camelback East VPC denial and the November Planning Commission meeting, the developers made changes to the plan that accomplished the inclusion of 6 guest parking spaces instead of 4, but not enough to meet the minimum requirement of 8. Per zoning staff, in a written review of the project, parking on Maryland Avenue is restricted 24/7, even if it's not posted, because of the designated bike paths on both sides of the street. On November 4th, the Planning Commission heard the case. The commissioners expressed several concerns, including 2 driveways on the sides of the property instead of one central drive, orientation of the 2 units on the south ends of the building, facing the interior of the development rather than the street, a fence that limits engagement of pedestrians, a bike repair and storage amenity accessible to the public, lack of adequate guest parking, and having 15 trash and recycling cans on Maryland Avenue in the bike path multiple days a week. The commission voted to continue the case until December. In the interim, for a conversation I had with Mr. Oliver, he spent considerable time with Justin Johnson, a longtime member of the commission and a developer himself, actually driving the neighborhood, looking at existing developments, both old and new, and discussing options. At that time, Mr. Johnson changed his position on the central driveway, for which he was advocating, but he expected another guest parking space, making 7, and on-site trash collection. On December 2nd, last-minute revisions of the plan were submitted to zoning with most of the changes the commission had hoped for, except on-site trash collection. Justin Johnson made the motion to approve the rezoning with the additional stipulations that guest parking spaces and on-site trash collection be included. The motion passed 9-1. Again, this commission is appointed by you. They represent you and vet applications on your behalf. Slide 3, please. So let's talk trash. The photo on your left was submitted to zoning by Mr. Oliver in a PowerPoint for his presentation to Camelback East VPC. This is on Rose Lane, just south of Maryland, and shows actual trash and recycling bins the night before collection day. This scenario would be repeated with 15 cans 2 times a week if Autumn Row residents don't have on-site trash collection. The 15 bins would obstruct the curbside bike lane, which is not present on Rose Lane. Mr. Oliver has stated that other multifamily developments on Maryland put their cans on Maryland. This is not true, and he has provided no resident statements or other evidence that it is true. The photo on the right is the La Paloma complex west of the proposed PUD. Because they have a private drive, the trash and recycling bins are placed in front of each residence, not on Maryland. All other multifamily housing on Maryland has either individual collection in front of their unit or a centralized trash compound. But even if it were true that other developments have street-side collection, don't repeat mistakes of the past. The city's goals have evolved. Bike and pedestrian safety considerations have improved. Street-side trash collection is not in step with progress that's been made. The only cans that might be on Maryland are from single-family homes that have side entrance garages on Maryland. They could easily be redirected to put their cans on the side street that their homes face. For Autumn Row residents, there is no alternative to street side collection except on-site collection. Next slide, please. These 5 photos are on Maryland looking from 12th Street to 16th Street. They were taken on November the 1st at 8:30 p.m., the night before trash collection, when many people roll out their cans. This confirms trash and recycling is not placed on Maryland. Note the bike lane abuts the sidewalk. Also, please realize that Maryland Avenue is a major route to Madison Rose Lane, Madison Traditional Academy, and Madison Meadows, all elementary schools. Vehicular traffic is maximized twice a day by school traffic. Children riding their bikes populate the bike lanes. Also, several handicapped people utilize the bike lane for their wheelchairs. The caregivers find it easier to push the wheelchairs on the pavement compared to sidewalks with intervening ups and downs. Blocking a dedicated bike path with obstacles is not consistent with the city's efforts to support the work done by city staff and the community input that created the comprehensive bike master plan to increase bike safety and pedestrian use. Maryland is a major east-west designated pathway in that plan. Next slide, please. At Camelback East, Mr. Oliver stated that required trash and recycling collection to be on the street. He was asked that by Chairman Schwartz. This is false. This slide is an email I received from Eric McDonald, City Zero Waste Management staff, who states that placing containers on the sidewalk is against ADA guidelines, so that's not an option. Slide 6, please. This slide is an email from Megan Sheets, City of Phoenix Public Works, stating that having a centralized enclosure is preferable for residents than wheeling 90-gallon bins to the street twice a week. On-site collection is a viable alternative per city staff. It is not a requirement of the city to have on-street collection. Please go to slide 8. We're going to skip slide 7. We provided the developers with a viable option to the on-site trash collection challenge, and that's to reduce the number of units from 14 to 15 units to 14 from 15. The developers have stated that they must have 15 units in order to have a reasonable return on their investment. I was told by Mr. Oliver that the property is not yet owned by the developers, but is under contract with contingency of rezoning approval. So they're not yet fully committed financially to the property. The developers shared with us on March 4th that the units are approximately 1,750 square feet and will sell for between $500,000 and $550,000. With that information, we calculated the return on investment for 16 units compared to 14 units. The calculation is on the slide. The developers will double their investment either way. If you reduce the number of units, you reduce construction costs. Doubling the investment is the goal of most every developer. So a place for a centralized compound could be created by including 14 units and still maintain twice the developer's investment. Those of us who have been engaged in this project, I am within 2 sentences of being finished, if I may. Those of us who have been engaged in this project since its inception ask you to honor the recommendation of your zoning staff, support the
Our next speaker is Max Murphy.
Mayor, at this time, would you like to continue with the speakers?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Max Murphy. Max, are you on the line?
Yep, I'm on the line. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You may proceed.
Hi, hi, Mayor. Hi, City Council. I'm kind of coming from a different perspective of a young adult who is entering into the housing market soon, and the rental market. And something that isn't really included in any of the discussion that we've had up until this point is the effect that denying, PUDs and related projects have on the housing shortage that we're experiencing in Phoenix. Over the last year, Phoenix home prices have increased about 30% compared to last year. And the median home price is looking to be around $400,000, which is well outside of the range of most entry level and young people that live in the city. Something to consider when you guys are making this vote is the effect that this will have on people who do not have a lot of capital to buy homes and do not have a lot of money to pay rent. I think it's important that we consider that limiting the housing supply in Phoenix for small problems like density or character has real negative impacts for those of us who are entering the housing market or would like to enter the housing market in the near future in the city. And so as you go into your vote, just keep in mind what kind of precedent that a denial of any PUD has on the city, which is a decrease in potential housing supply and a decrease in potential housing units that the city can, that people in the city can use.
And it was drawn to my attention that Mr. Oliver does have some time remaining, so we'll give him a moment to prepare, and I'll ask Mr. Murphy a question. You mentioned denial of PUDs. Were you speaking about some of the ones outside of our city, or was there something in Phoenix in particular you were referring to?
Not anything in particular. I'm just pro dense development and pro adding more housing stock to the city, so rent and housing prices can stabilize.
Wonderful. The Phoenix City Council has been working very hard to bring more affordable housing supply, and I just wanted to make sure we were clear on the record. You were not referring to an affordable housing project in Phoenix.
Correct.
All right. We will go back to Mr. Oliver.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. There's a few things I'd just like to touch on with this rebuttal. The first thing is you heard Mr. Whitesell, who it's been a pleasure to work with him throughout this entire project. He actually called me and told me congrats on passing the bar exam. So, I just appreciate all of his effort and his civic engagement. But one thing he stated, and I feel like he failed to clarify the record and misconstrued what happened, is he mentioned that there were concerns at Village over a PUD. And now what that concern was, a concern was that Village members thought that a PUD was meant to combine a multitude of zoning districts into one, and now that's not the case. Really what it's meant to do is it's meant to build a superior project, one that goes above and beyond what a standard zoning district would allow for. And staff, if we can go back up to my presentation, I'd like to show the rendering that we have as I speak right now. Also, I've stated and I've said that there's been three core concerns with this project since the start. Again, we heard that this project is too dense, right? It's no secret here to those on this call, those on this meeting. I'd like to highlight what Mr. Murphy stated. There's a housing shortage in the city of Phoenix. There's a housing shortage in the fifth largest city in this country. Last year, we were short 163,000 units. For us to drop a unit goes against what the city is trying to do by build more units to house those that are moving to Phoenix at a rapid pace. But we heard concerns from neighbors, and we were happy to drop that one unit. So again, we addressed one of those three concerns by dropping one unit. Again, we heard a concern over guest parking. We had 4 guest parking spots. We heard 4 is not enough. So we figured out a way to nearly double that number up to 7. Now we have 7 guest parking spots. Again, we addressed 2 of their 3 concerns at this point in time. Now the trash concern kind of lingered in the background behind the density and behind the parking concerns. And it wasn't until the last minute when it became clear that we could actually address the density and address the parking concerns that now trash became the biggest issue. When trash became the biggest issue, the frustration was the fact that we could not have an on-site trash bin. And now what we, at one point in time, believed that we could have is that bin because we only had the 4 guest parking spots. Now that we have the 7, there's no room for us to have a trash bin on site. But again, we've been working with planning staff throughout the project, and they've indicated that trash could be collected on the street. So that was the path that we wanted to go with. Again, I just want to clarify the record, a few things Mr. Whitesell stated, just so my client's name isn't smeared and the record's clear. First, he mentioned that my client hasn't closed on the property. That is not true. My client has closed on this property. They are committed to building the picture that you're seeing on your screen right now. Also, you saw some numbers as far as how much it costs to actually build in the city of Phoenix. Those numbers are grossly misrepresented and are not accurate in any way, shape, or form. The actual number of just construction costs is nearly twice the number you saw. Mr. Whitesell's pro forma never factored in labor, never factored in land costs, never factored in just the fact that now that there's a housing shortage in the city of Phoenix, construction costs in the past 2 years have increased extremely. So again, Mayor and Council, I urge us to keep in mind, I urge us to consider as you vote on this project, the fact that we as the 5th largest city have a housing shortage. And the city of Phoenix is strapped to expand outward. The city of Phoenix has to look to expand inward. And by that I mean strategic infill projects such as this one. What this project will do is it will offer a housing option to those looking to buy a home as opposed to renting in their late 20s and early 30s. It will allow those to live close to the heart and in the center of the 5th largest city in the U.S. Again, I urge us to keep these factors in mind when voting on this project.
Staff will now continue with public comment.
Our next speaker is Ronald Carpenter. Ronald, are you on the line?
Yes. My address is 302 West Minnesota Avenue in Phoenix, and I just wanted to say that I support the project with the stipulations that were already approved and that Mr. Whitesell spoke about. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sandra Grunow. Sandra, are you on the line?
Yes, my name is Sandy Grunow. I live at 802 East Maryland. Since January 20th, 2021, 2 homeowner associations and 4 neighborhood associations have spent a great deal of time attempting to communicate with the developers and/or their attorney. Many suggestions were offered. The developers made it clear their focus was the return on investment, not a planned unit development, a superior build. When questioned about the superior build, the developers spoke of building materials. They have missed the purpose of a PUD. The neighborhood has reached out to the developers no less than 16 times in effort to resolve the outstanding issue of trash collection. While we neighborhood associations and homeowner associations support a multifamily development, we do not support the desired density, which necessitates the street collection. Of 30 trash cans on the street, on the Sonoran bike path. Please only approve this matter with the Planning Commission stipulation to maintain trash collection on the property, not on the street. Without this stipulation, this matter should be opposed. The associations, if this is of interest to you, the Maryland East Village Homeowners Association, Madison Groves Manor Homeowners Association, the Peak Neighborhood Association, Squaw Peak Heights, North Central Phoenix Homeowners, and Phoenix Mid-Century Modern. We've all put a lot of communication attempts in to speak with these people, and their focus is just return on investment. Please, as I said before, only approve this matter with the Planning Commission's stipulation to maintain trash collection on the property, not on the street. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mary Ann Pikulas. Mary Ann, are you on the line?
I am, yes, thank you. I'm president of Madison Groves Manor at 14th Place in Maryland, which, like other communities, will be impacted by this project. I'm also a neighborhood leader concerned about the entire area. This has been a very long process. It was obvious last January the plan lacked any consideration for our neighborhood regarding trash pickup and guest parking, both destined to burden Maryland owners. These are responsibilities of the developers, and we would all be exposed to. A meeting with developers in March proved there was no room for compromise. It was only very recently that guest parking was added and one unit removed. It's not enough. The major need for trash collection to be on-site persists. All other communities along Maryland have on-site collection. No community from 16th to 12th Streets places trash bins on Maryland. Anyone who tells you they do is being acutely untruthful. The same applies to residents being told at meetings that the city prefers trash bins on their streets. Really? Maryland is a major bike path with bike lanes on both sides. No trash bins is why bikers stay safe, why walkers from all over come to enjoy it. Having 30 trash bins line Maryland the better part of 3 days is unconscionable and unsafe. We need a revised site plan for autumn to add an on-site trash area to continue safe use and enjoyment. We welcome projects that will enhance our area and protect our property values. This does not. Trash collection remains an enormous concern. It should for anyone who values the character of Phoenix. We were told this is the first multi-unit project for these developers. They made a mistake on this tiny 0.89 acre lot. They should have planned 14 units, allowing room for on-site trash and required guest parking. They overreached in crowding 16 units for a profit goal, leaving no room for these.
Our next speaker is Sarah Entz. Sarah, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Hello, I represent the Maryland Village East Homeowner Association located at 1530 East Maryland. We are immediately west of the proposed automotive development, and of anyone, we are the most affected by this development. So what's troubled me today about all of the comments is that this is being presented as an either-or decision. We either get trash taken care of on site or we get multifamily development, and that is not the case. We can have both. We do not oppose multifamily development inside of our community. We oppose trash in our streets, and we oppose trash in our bike lanes. The developer wants to put 15 trash cans multiple times a week in the bike lanes on Maryland, and this causes so many safety issues. It's hazardous to bicyclists. It's hazardous to the vehicle traffic there as the trash cans are there, and then the bicyclists are inside of the Maryland Avenue. There's not enough room in front of the property for all of these trash cans, so it's going to be spilling out over into my property in front of our village's property. There's also no other instances of roadside trash collection on Maryland Avenue. And finally, what experience are those 2 units that are now facing Maryland going to have with all of those trash cans placed right in front of their front doors multiple times a week? Trash in the street does not beautify our neighborhood. And again, we do not oppose multifamily projects in our neighborhood. We are opposing trash in the street. Mr. Whitesell has detailed all the denials this project has received. We've spoken about the trash since day one on Jan 20, again on March 5th, and John Oliver and I had a personal conversation on October 5th about the trash, and I stated it as my number one concern and my community's number one concern. So HOPE, as has been mentioned by the developer, is not a trash mitigation strategy. We're not opposed. We are only opposed to that development that will not maintain the beauty of our community. So thank you very much for listening to us. We appreciate you, and Happy New Year.
Our next speaker is Linda Richards. Linda, are you on the line?
I am, thank you. I live at 1530 East Maryland, immediately west of the property. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. We're here because despite protestation on various points from the neighborhood, especially garbage, inadequate setback, and inadequate visitor parking, the project was approved with the proviso that trash be handled on site rather than the twice or thrice weekly horror show of curb collection from individual street side bins. Imagine 30 bins on the street several times a week. With an appeal in hand, it seems we should look at all of these things again. Not only have the developers demonstrated an unwillingness to properly deal with the trash the homes they are creating will create, the tiny setback, much smaller than neighboring properties and recommendations from the city, and the woefully inadequate parking promise to deliver more problems to the neighborhood. I'm not opposed to development in the community, but the developer's insistence on street side garbage and recycling collection that spews the development's garbage on Maryland Avenue and the Sonoran bike path continues to be unacceptable. Under the circumstances, I hope for a continuation until the developers can provide adequate documentation stating the trash mitigation has been resolved. Additionally, just quickly, do you imagine your expensive 1,750 square foot condos are actually going to help Phoenix's housing shortage? I don't really think so. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Daniel Trozzi. Daniel, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
You may proceed.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Dan Trozzi. I live at 6746 North 12th Way. I've lived in this neighborhood for 39 years, and I am the president of Squaw Peak Heights Neighborhood Association. When registering for this council meeting, I listed that I was opposed to the development. To clarify, I am not opposed to the development per se. The issues that are not in compliance with the staff recommendations and with those issues that impact the appearance and quality of life for the rest of Maryland Avenue. These concerns have been brought up for more than a year. Time and time again, they were raised on setbacks, trash collection, and the insufficient guest parking. Modest efforts have been made, but the minor tweaking and massaging will not provide Maryland Avenue with the open, spacious beauty and safety it currently has, unless stipulations are accepted. Over the years, I've seen many changes in this neighborhood, mostly good. As the neighborhood matures, we, my neighbors, and I have worked for positive, compatible changes while trying to preserve its original character. There are several issues that affect the livability, walkability, and the safety for the neighborhood, issues that mean a lot to the neighborhood and to the city of Phoenix. Guest parking has been a critical issue since neighborhood leaders met with the developers on March 4, 2021, during which this was addressed, as well as on-site trash collection. Parking is prohibited on bike lanes, and trash containers along Maryland would inhibit the ability for pedestrians, bikers, as well as those who use assisted devices to travel along Maryland safely. The proposed development should have self-contained trash pickup, as other communities are along Maryland Avenue. We offered a solution as showed in the PowerPoint presentation to bring this development into compliance. Adding housing supply to the city of Phoenix should not be at the detriment of existing established neighborhoods. In summary, we urge the council to accept the Planning Commission approval with stipulations.
Mayor, that was our final speaker on this item.
Thank you. I will close the public hearing and turn to Councilman DeCiccio.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought there were some really good points brought up today. I'm not completely convinced. I'd like to see more done. I'd like to have individuals sharpen their pencil, see what we need to do to be able to comply with the parking and the trash pickup. I like the idea of the self-contained, the one unit that is allowed. I'd like to have us explore that. So I'm going to make a motion to take this under advisement and move it as a continuance until the 26th, just to see if there is anything else that can be done and to have the developer work with the planning staff to come back to the council. Thank you, Mayor. That's my motion.
Mayor, I'll second that, but can I ask for some information?
Please, Councilwoman.
Sure.
Thank you. I'm just curious, and Sal, maybe this will help. Councilman DeCiccio, if we get, I've been having a hard time with the site plan, but if we could get the width of the property and then look at the distance that Public Works needs to pick up trash bins, I think the neighborhood does have a concern, and so maybe if we could get some kind of detail so we could better study that. I don't know if you agree, Councilman DeCiccio, but it might help.
Yeah, I think we should look at everything. I really like the idea of the one individual. I can't remember who it was, but talked about the self-contained, because we see that in different developments. I know it's done for multi-housing, it's not done for residential, but we have to work with the Public Works Department to see if there's any way we can do that here. And I think it'd be a great idea. I think it'd be good for everybody, quite frankly, so that you don't have to bring out any garbage cans if it's possible. And if it's not possible, instead of coming back with why we can't do it, I want individuals to come back with how we can do this. So what would be the process to be able to do these things? No, I think everything should be on the table, Councilman Stark.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'll second.
You bet. No, great idea.
Thank you. I am looking forward to supporting the continuance. I think it makes a lot of sense. The picture, which I gather was originally from the applicant's presentation, showing all the trash containers. That is not what we're looking for in the middle of a bike lane on Maryland. So appreciate people sharpening their pencils on this one. Any additional comments? So we have a motion for a continuance, and that does not require a roll call vote. So we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor of continuing this, please say aye.
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 Yeah.
Aye.
Any opposed to the continuance, please say nay. The motion to continue passes. Thank you very much for all who have been working hard and who presented today. We have concluded the agendized portion of our council meeting, and I will turn to the Vice Mayor for some comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to take a quick minute to thank you all for entrusting me in being the Vice Mayor. I've learned a lot. I've got to work with a lot of you, with staff. And I wanted to say to the newly elected Vice Mayor, congratulations. And I hope Sophia feels better. And I'm sure you have some comments as well. But thank you all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you for your service and doing what you have been doing. I'd like to thank actually all my council colleagues for supporting me. I look forward to working with everyone on this council on a number of issues, but in particular, I am looking forward to working with the Public Safety Committee on hiring more officers and what we can do, innovative ideas, and getting more officers hired. So I want to thank everybody for their vote and appreciate all the comments, especially from Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I also, again, I'm looking forward to working with you, Vice Mayor Pastor, this upcoming year, but also want to thank Vice Mayor Garcia for all of his leadership and everything that we were able to work on together in the last year. It's been a rough 2 years, but I feel like Vice Mayor Garcia, you showed a lot of leadership, and and looking forward to all the great things that we will continue to do together in the future. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor?
Councilman DeCiccio.
Thank you. I'd like to first start off by thanking the Vice Mayor for his work. I mean, Carlos, you and I don't agree on a whole lot, but the thing that we do agree on is the mutual respect and the cordialness that we've shown each other, even though we don't agree. I think that's been amazing. You just would never expect that coming from two individuals on opposite ends. But your comments have had had a significant impact on our city. I mean, you've actually been a true leader here. And, I'd like to see us agree and work on more things moving forward. The councilwoman, or now Vice Mayor, Pastor, appreciate your comments. I think that's something we can all agree on, is to work on getting more police officers. And I'd like to see it find a way that we can find a way to mend our bridges and find a way to make things work. I'm definitely in the minority here, without a doubt. But I do think that when you get away from groupthink, where it's only one way, you have a much cleaner, much more transparent, and much more effective government. And that's when people are able to freely be able to put their ideas on the table. And I'm hoping that you have and carry on the same leadership that Carlos did, because he and I were able to talk about things, work things out, and appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Stark.
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to thank the Vice Mayor for his work. He is very committed to both the city and his district, and I appreciate what he does for our city. And I do agree that in the upcoming year, we really do need to focus on public safety, and I'm happy to hear that our new Vice Mayor is committed to hiring new officers. I also hope you're committed to making our roads safer. I mean, it seems like every day we get a comment from our commander about another horrific accident. We really do need to focus this year on making our streets safer. So thank you, and thanks again for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? We will then turn to our city attorney's office to introduce the final portion of our meeting, resident public comments.
Thank you, Mayor. During citizen comment, members of the public may address the City Council for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern to them. The Arizona Open Meeting Law permits the City Council to listen to the comments, but prohibits council members from discussing or acting on the matters presented.
Thank you. We'll begin public comment with Stacy Champion, followed by Donald Carner.
Hello, Mayor and council members. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you. Earlier today, I sent you all a citizen's petition regarding our unsheltered residents. Ironically, I started this petition prior to being put under arrest this past Monday for trying to protect the belongings of an unsheltered man who had to go to the hospital. Thankfully, and due to my privilege, that citation was voided yesterday. It is common knowledge and well documented that unsheltered individuals have their personal belongings taken and/or thrown away on a weekly basis. This has been going on for many years and isn't up for debate. I hope we can all agree homelessness is a complex issue, but also isn't as cut and dried as only affecting those with addiction or mental health issues. But even then, I believe everyone deserves to be treated with compassion. I hope we can all agree that we haven't had enough shelter beds, including crucial low barrier shelter beds, transitional housing, or affordable housing units for many years. This is not a today problem. I hope we can all agree that everyone pees and poops and creates daily waste simply by living. I hope we can all agree that all humans should have 24/7 access to potable water for survival. My citizens petition provides 10 action items we believe would be beneficial for unsheltered residents, the neighborhood and surrounding businesses, plus the city with regard to public health, sanitation, and safety. It would bring the city in compliance with CDC's COVID guidelines for unsheltered encampments, especially with the contagiousness of the new variant. In closing, I wish to remind everyone these are fellow humans. Right now, it's very, very cold. Soon, it will be very, very hot. There is a more compassionate and proactive way to deal with this crisis, but the current way is simply inhumane and unacceptable. So I look forward to you addressing the citizens petition that I sent you earlier this afternoon. Thank you for your time and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Mr. Carter will be our final comment.
Donald, are you on the line? Donald, we can't hear you. Could you verify that your microphone is on?
That's basically all some value chain.
Donald, are you able to speak up?
Okay, I am unable to hear Mr. Carter, so if he would like to comment at our next public comment opportunity, we will have him go first at our next formal meeting during the public comment portion. With that, thank you for joining us today. We are adjourned.
And effective, and that includes making sure underserved rural and tribal areas are going to see the benefits. And that is something that our congressional funders and overseers made very clear in the framing of this law. Let me point to a couple of things. First of all, for the first time, we have a $6 billion Safe Streets for All fund. And yes, sometimes that means making sure there is a well-designed intersection in the middle of one of our biggest and busiest cities. But sometimes it means making sure that those rural roads are as safe as